Tonight, concerns for the crew aboard a ship docked in Port Pirie, and the cleanup of the Port Augusta power station almost complete.
With the latest from around the region, your nightly news with John Hunt begins now.
Good evening. Thanks for your company this Wednesday evening. Concerns for the crew on board a ship docked in Port Pirie have been raised by the International Transport Workers Federation. The union says the crew have had limited access to fresh drinking water.
Docked in unknown waters. The Maltese-flagged Eckert Oldendorf has been stranded at Port Pirie since Sunday. Its presence attracting the eye of the International Transport Workers Federation, who slammed its conditions.
Have been monitoring the ship for much more than a month now, after receiving complaints from people representing the crew concerned about the crew's welfare.
It was forced into port after an explosion in the ship's turbocharger, causing a fire in the engine room. The ship is now laying dormant at Flinders Port in Pirie. Its international crew of 22 men remain on board.
Being told there's not enough drinking water on board, and the crew have to catch rainwater.
Ian Pole, a chaplain for the Mission to Seafarers, has been busy advocating for the rights of the crew. He's voiced concerns which have included issues with pay.
Their first language is something other than English, and who come from countries that are quite different culturally from ours, quite different politically.
The union have said the crew have contacted the Fair Work Ombudsman.
It looks like a pretty miserable state of affairs for the seafarers on that ship, and we'd be very interested in having a look at that ship and going on board talking to the seafarers when it comes alongside, probably in Adelaide.
Dominic Beaton, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
A 49-year-old man has been arrested for allegedly breaking into a Port Pirie home over the weekend. A 4th Street home was broken into between 5 o'clock Saturday night and 6 Sunday night. Following inquiries, police raided a nearby home, recovering cash, jewellery and an iPad, along with some cannabis. He's been charged with serious criminal trespass, theft, and also issued a cannabis expiation notice. Port Lincoln's Leisure Centre has been awarded for its services on water safety. It's won a Recreation South Australia award for implementing the Watch Around Water initiative. The project was adopted after the near drowning of a 4-year-old boy last summer. Since its introduction, it's reached more than 88,000 people throughout the region. Flinders Power is preparing to wrap up 2.5 years of operations at Port Augusta's old power station site. The company expecting to hand over the land to EYRE Mining at the end of this month.
It's taken 2.5 years and 8 charge-filled explosions. But the cleanup of the power station is nearly finished.
Well, it is very close to the end. All our site work's been done.
Flinders Power preparing to hand over the keys to iron ore producer EYRE Mining. At the height of operations, the company employed around 100 full-time workers who helped remove over 1,000 tonnes of asbestos material, as well as 75,000 tonnes of scrap steel.
95% of the material is all recycled, so it's a good project to be involved in.
Though it hasn't all been smooth sailing, the remediation efforts have been plagued by dust issues, which stirred up outrage in the community.
Of course, from all our learnings that we've got over the last 2 or 3 years, we would have done a few things differently.
With Flinders Power wrapping up its operations at the end of this month, it will bring an end to 2.5 years of work on the site.
Right from the outset, we wanted to leave something that could be used in the future, and so our past employees were proud of the site.
The company's commitment to the community set to continue into the future.
There's also a few other little projects coming along that will help recognise, the 60 years that the power station has been here.
Garth Burley, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
Regional South Australia's protection against pests and diseases is set to be strengthened, with the state government looking to review biosecurity laws. It'll remove red tape by consolidating a range of existing legislation into one. It comes after the government invested $500,000 in Port Augusta's sterile insect facility earlier this month, which helps fight the outbreaks of fruit fly. The act is due to be in place at the end of 2021. Development of the Farm Beach campgrounds has hit a snag, with the final proposal raising concerns. Lower Eyre Peninsula Council says it needs some clarification before approval.
It's a project that's been in the pipeline for years.
The Eyes on Eyre projects are about developing camping nodes across Eyre Peninsula, up to about 16 sites. A project that's being organised by Regional Development Australia, EYRE and Eyre Peninsula.
However, it's hit troubled waters, with a final proposal for the Farm Beach campsite raising concerns for the Lower Eyre Peninsula District Council. Mr Pearson says clarification on the types of campsite being constructed is needed before it's approved.
You know, whether they would be smaller, bigger, bush camping, where they might be double sites, etc. So that was the discussion, and Council have provided feedback to Regional Development in that regard.
The council says each site would cost around $300,000 to $400,000.
The understanding is that Regional Development Australia will be seeking external funding, other government funding to contribute towards the projects.
Despite this, council says they strongly support the development of the campsite. The Eyes on Eyre project say they're happy with how the plans are progressing.
The first stage of our Eyes on Eyre is really looking at 11 campgrounds across the region, working with all the councils and out through the Nullarbor as well. Each have their own challenges, and the project's progressing really well. Developers have taken the feedback on board and are currently amending their proposal. Nathan Regter, 7 Spencer Golf News.
Still to come tonight, Port Lincoln takes a look back at its unique history, and Port Pirie says thanks to its volunteers. Welcome back. Port Lincoln's local history group has marked State History Month, members holding several exhibitions reflecting on the coastal town's unique and surprising past.
It was a flash from the past for many locals, with Port Lincoln's history on show. Audiences learning about the town's maritime history and oyster industry.
It's important to the town to understand where we came from and where our industries came from, and it's just a good backdrop to everything else that we know about our town.
The festival is one of South Australia's largest community events, showcasing the state's collection of unique stories and world firsts, with Adelaide the first city to grant women the vote.
This year's the 125th anniversary of women getting the right to vote in the world, and it was accomplished here in South Australia, in Adelaide.
It opened my eyes a bit. I vote, but I didn't realise it took so much to get the women's vote.
Lee also discussing women's suffrage throughout history, with a focus on female scientists, in particular Rosalind Franklin, who led the way in understanding biology.
When Crick and Watson came along, they stole a lot of her ideas, went ahead with it, and they were awarded the Nobel Prize.
The History Festival will run to the end of the month. Nathan Regter, 7 Spencer Golf News.
Thousands of people around the nation today have celebrated Wear Orange Wednesday, a campaign to show support and say thanks to SES volunteers around Australia. Locally, sea rescue crews in Port Lincoln this morning showed their support, using their vessels to write "Wow" in Boston Bay. The day encouraging everyone to wear something orange, representing the colour of the organisation. And all I can say about that is, wow, what an effort. Early tickets are now available for this year's Upper Spencer Golf Global Maintenance Conference. It'll feature industry leaders from across the state, guest speakers as well as a number of exhibitors. Over 500 people attended last year's sold-out event, and organisers are encouraging attendees to secure their place. The conference will take place in August. Community groups in Port Pirie have gathered for the 4th annual National Volunteer Week March, the town hosting the event to say thanks to those who help make the city a better place to live.
Marching from the waterfront to Memorial Oval, Port Pirie's volunteer walk is a symbolic gesture of thanks to the hard-working locals of the friendly city. An annual march is held in Adelaide, but this event gives those who can't travel the distance an opportunity to celebrate.
We feel feel it's really important that our region get to be part of that.
Those celebrated range from people who care for the aged to those looking after the sick, through to those running local sports clubs. Today they united to promote a common cause.
We have about $7 million worth of unpaid voluntary labour in this community.
For Red Cross volunteer Barry McGree, volunteering is supporting those who don't always have a helping hand.
If I wasn't there, who would take my wife? Who would look after her? Take her down, do a bit of shopping.
Local volunteer group chair Kylie Crouch says it's also a great way to learn some new skills.
You're unemployed at the moment and you want to gain experience, so most organisations will take you on and, train you up, whether it's retail.
Dominic Beaton, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
Indigenous filmmakers from across SA will be celebrated in Whyalla beginning Monday as part of National Reconciliation Week. Country Arts SA's Black Screen Festival will showcase a number of cultural films.
A cultural celebration on the big screen, starting next week at the Middleback Arts Centre.
For Country Arts SA, it's really important to showcase these beautiful works on the big screen and provide the opportunity for people in regions to see them.
Black Screen will showcase emerging and established Indigenous filmmakers, featuring an array of short films.
We need more Aboriginal filmmakers coming into the industry, especially in South Australia.
In Whyalla to have something like the Black Screen, people coming along, showing how talented they are, sharing their culture.
Community members are excited for the festival, saying each film is an expression of their ancient culture.
So Reconciliation Week is a very important time for Aboriginal people and our culture. We love to share stories.
And filmmakers say it's also a time of reflection and communication.
We can connect, we can communicate. This is like filmmaking is a way of communicating to each other and reconciling our differences.
Information can be found on the Country Arts SA website. Shari Ham, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
Stay with us after the break. We take a look at the region's fuel prices, and Alex will join us with the latest weather forecast. Hello again. Whyalla residents can soon enter the inaugural Cuddlefest Art Prize competition. Council says it's a chance for locals to get involved in Cuddlefest without getting their feet wet.
Art lovers are busy preparing, with a new exhibition coming to town, kicking off Whyalla's 2019 Cuddlefest.
First year as part of Cuddlefest that will be hosting the Art Prize here at the Middleback Arts Centre for you. It's very exciting.
Community members of any age can enter the competition and are being encouraged to use their imagination.
Get involved, be creative, it's great for your soul.
So it provides an opportunity for local artists, so Whyalla residents, to create and make and be inspired by the Cuddlefest.
Prizes will be up for grabs. Deb Hugh says it's a celebration of our local shoreline.
Our amazing marine animals that come here and they do their thing here in Whyalla, and it's a really unique event.
Whyalla's cuttlefish season continues to grow, with new features on the table for 2019 and an opening ceremony held on the Whyalla foreshore on June the 1st. However, time is running out to enter.
I'm going to tell you that entries need to be in by the 8th of June, so there are entry forms online at the Whyalla City Council website.
Shari Ham, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
And now for a look at this week's fuel prices across the region. Here's Garth.
This week I'm the bearer of good news, with many locations across the region either holding even or experiencing a fall at the bowsers. Unleaded prices in the Iron Triangle are promising. Whyalla is the cheapest place to fill up across the region, with prices dropping 3 cents this week, while Port Pirie and Port Augusta fell slightly. Port Lincoln remained steady at just below $1.54, Broken Hill inching over $1.50, and Kadina is good value, nearing $1.45. While in Adelaide, the fluctuation in prices continued, tumbling nearly 17 cents, close to $1.35. No huge jumps in the diesel prices from last week, but most are hovering around $1.50. Port Augusta and Port Pirie saw no change, so too Port Lincoln, which is over $1.53. Whyalla is slightly lower, Kadina fell marginally, and motorists in the Silver City are paying the most at the pumps, ticking over $1.57. A quick look at Autogas, where incredibly for the third week in a row, both Port Pirie and Port Augusta have seen no movement from 89.9 cents a litre. On the Eyre Peninsula, both Port Lincoln and Whyalla are both better off this week. Kadina has risen over 2.5 cents to just under 90 cents a litre. Broken Hill the most expensive again, jumping to 92 cents, and Adelaide fell to under 84.5. And as always, remember these prices are the regional averages and do not reflect any one particular outlet. But if you find a spot that sells unleaded, diesel or auto gas for cheaper, let us know on our Facebook page.
Weather time now, here's Alex.
Good evening. It was a fine and warm day across our region with temperatures in the mid to low 20s. With Port Augusta reached a top of 26, Whyalla was 22, Port Lincoln was 19 and partly cloudy, and it was 23 and sunny in Adelaide. On the satellite, there's some cloud in the east of the state thanks to a weak trough. The rest of the SA remains clear thanks to a high pressure system. On the waters, light northerly winds between 5 to 10 knots, seas at a metre, and the sun will rise at 7:09 tomorrow morning and with sunset just before 5:20. Fine, sunny and mild tomorrow. Port Augusta reaching 28 degrees, Whyalla partly cloudy and 26, Port Lincoln and Coffin Bay 21, Broken Hill cloudy and 26, Port Pirie 25, Clare 22, and Adelaide will also reach a top of 22. Looking ahead to the weekend, Port Lincoln can expect showers developing into rain, 21 Friday, 19 Saturday and 17 Sunday. Cleve will be sunny through to the weekend before the temperatures drop to just 15 by Sunday, and it'll be mild in Woodner, 22 on Friday before some weekend showers. Whyalla will remain fine, 24 Friday, 21 Saturday before dropping to 17 on Sunday. Similar conditions in Port Augusta, 27 Friday, partly cloudy and 22 Saturday and 18 Sunday. And Kadina will be 21 and partly cloudy through until the weekend before some showers and temperatures in the high teens over the weekend. Port Pirie will be partly cloudy through to Saturday before showers develop on Sunday. Similar conditions in Clare, dropping to a chilly 13 on Sunday, and Broken Hill storms will remain mild and dry. And that's all for tonight's weather, John. It's back to you.
Thanks, Alex. And that's your local news this Wednesday evening. Thanks so much for your company. I'll be back later in the evening with some updates, but until then, enjoy your evening's viewing here on 7. On behalf of the team, it's good night.